What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Game Podcast. It's finally over. The season finale of The Acolyte has come and gone, and now that I've seen all 8 episodes, it's time to give my final thoughts on season 1. Obviously, there will be spoilers from this point forward, so if you are worried about spoilers, then I would click on out of this episode, go watch the series, and then come back. Ultimately, this is a very disappointing show from Lucasfilm and Disney. When they originally announced it, they pitched it as a Sith-centric show where the main perspective of the show would be from the Sith. First of all, they mentioned the word Sith once in episode 5, and we only ever get that Sith perspective for half of an episode, which was episode 6. Everything else is from the perspective of the Jedi. So that end and of itself is very disappointing. Say what you will about a lot of the lore changes or continuity issues that the show presents, such as Kiadu Mundi. Like, I get why people are pissed off about that, but honestly, it doesn't bother me a ton. And it's really not about a birthday. I know a lot of people are like, dude, why are you so hung up on a birthday? Like, the birthday doesn't fucking matter. That's not the issue of why everybody's upset about it. They're upset about it because he says things in the show that contradicts things that he says in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. But overall, the lore changes don't really bother me a ton. Yeah, some of it kind of aggravated me for sure. Like, there were lore changes between the prequel and the OG trilogies. Now, with that being said, they opened themselves up to that criticism in here. Like, this was unnecessary lore changes. They could have made a brand new character to throw in there. They could have made a completely different character in there to not contradict the things that he says in episode 1. So while, yes, it is an idiotic choice to include him in this series, I just think we have bigger fish to fry when it comes to what this show is and everything that happens within the show. But my point is, I could overlook some of those changes and those continuity issues if they had well-written, emotionally compelling characters and a good, well-written story. And while that's not the only issue that I have with this show, it is my biggest complaint. I never once cared about a single character in this show. Yeah, there were moments here or there where I enjoyed what they did with a specific character in a specific moment, but that was far and few between. The characters are so poorly written, it's not even funny. At any given moment, a character can change their mind or have a jarring personality shift. May went through this like 10 times in one episode. 1 minute she wants to kill Osha and the Jedi, and then the next she wants to turn herself into the Jedi, and then the next section she wants to kill her sister again, and then she's back on the side of the Jedi. And then we have Saul and his jarring personality change in episode 7, where he seems like he is a good level-headed Jedi, and then the second he sees the twins, he is a completely different character. And that's not even mentioning Master Tom, who at the same time is also not behaving like a Jedi, all because he is homesick. And then when we did get something good as far as character work goes, they will immediately squander it with some fucking bullshit. Like, episode 6 has some decent stuff with Chimera or the Stranger, whatever you want to call him. I was really intrigued by his character, but they take 2 steps back by completely disregarding him until the finale. And then even then, he's just kind of a throwaway character in that final episode. So it's just stuff like that that really aggravated me about the show. And on the flip side of things, we have the acting, which was, for the most part, pretty abysmal. The actress that played Osha and May, my God, some of the worst acting I have ever seen in not just Star Wars, but any TV show, period. Granted, I don't think the directing nor the script really helped her that much, but she definitely didn't elevate that character whatsoever. Like, if you look at some of the other characters in this show, some of them now, like, you can tell that they're kind of elevating the script. The bad acting was more noticeable when it came time to show emotions or lack thereof. And I'll use the examples of when she pulled the lightsaber on Chimera, or when she was fighting May in the finale and she's screaming during that match, or even just standing there just talking to her. There's just no emotion. Or when she's asked to show emotion, she just fails miserably. And don't get me started on Master Venestra or Master Gamora, whatever you want to call her. I legit hated every scene that she was in because of how bad the acting was. And what's funny is you can tell the stark contrast between acting when they are across from another actor who can actually act. Like the guy from the Senate in the finale who was in the Supergirl show. I think he I think his name was Hank in the show. He ended up playing Martian Manhunter. It's just crazy how different and how better his acting is in comparison to Master Gamora in that scene. It's like every character pretty much seemed the same, and every actor played those roles the same way. No emotions, and for the most part, this just seemed like it was afternoon soap opera actors throughout the 8 episodes. And then lastly, how useless were the first 4 episodes of this season? Like, I legit think those are some of the worst episodes in any TV show ever. Absolutely terrible episodes, considering they spent $180 million on this season. I'm pretty sure you can skip right to episode 5 and never miss a beat. And I think the season would be better for it, to be honest with you. And while I'm not saying that I liked the show or have any positive thoughts about it, I will say the season did improve with episode 5 until the finale. Improved. And that's saying something. Like, I know that's not saying much considering how atrocious those first 4 episodes were, but it did improve. And then how about we talk about the set designs in this show, which were absolutely terrible. You could tell they were sets. It looked fake. They looked claustrophobic. You never really got a sense of scale with any of the sets in the show. Now, granted, I do think they improved a little bit after episode 4. Again, episode 5 to the finale, I thought the show did a lot better, especially the set designs. They did kind of condense things with those final 4 episodes, so I think that helped a little bit with the set design. But goddamn, those first 4 episodes were absolutely horrible to look at. Like, I know I've joked in the past about it looking like a Sci-Fi Channel TV show, and a lot of people got onto me saying that's an insult to the Sci-Fi Channel, which it is, but that's kind of what it looked like. Like, it looked super fake, claustrophobic, and just ugly. The whole 9 yards. The set design in the show was just absolutely abysmal. Ultimately, I could sit here for an hour or 2 and talk about this show. And at times, they do have some really cool things like the bleeding Kyber crystal or the absolutely fantastic fight choreography, which I did not mention a whole lot. The choreography in this show is fantastic. It's some of the best fight choreography in any Star Wars property ever. I love the fact that they mixed in some kung fu with the fighting sequences, which we have never gotten before. I don't want Star Wars to always stay the same. I want them to experiment. I want them to incorporate new ideas into the stories because that keeps it fresh. So I am definitely on the positive side of them adding kung fu. I know some people have their issues with the kung fu in Star Wars and saying this isn't Star Wars. And I get it. Like, I understand that perspective of things, but we're never going to get new and exciting things if they don't incorporate new ideas into the show. So I'm okay with them adding the kung fu into the fight choreography. I think it looked great. Now, sometimes they threw in some influences from like kung fu movies like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And yeah, like I feel like those just weren't shot well enough to make them look as cool as they were in the show. So I think that was directing and all that really kind of messed that up. But for the most part, guys, I thought the choreography was absolutely fantastic in this show, especially episode 5. And it just sucks that all of this is surrounded by a terrible story, terrible characters, and horrendous acting. This won't be a show that I ever want to revisit, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone either. If you have watched the entire first season, and hopefully it is the end of the series, but I don't think we're going to be that lucky. If you've watched it, leave a comment below and let me know your final thoughts on The Acolyte. It is definitely some of the worst Star Wars I've seen. I would rather watch the sequel trilogy over this, which is saying a lot. But again, I just feel like with every step forward that they make in this show, they take 2 steps back with stupid shit, stupid ideas, and a lot of it's just shooting themselves in the foot. And with that, I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.